Well, hey there, my friend, and welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast. This is episode 279. I'm your host, Wendy Batten. I'm super happy you're here. Happy fall. How are things going? We are getting into the thick of it. I am just on the return. The return, is that right? I have just spent the last couple of weeks doing some really big things. I just traveled to Texas. I mentioned that in an earlier podcast, visiting the Contemporary Ceramic Studio Association's annual convention. That was wild. Texas was crazy. There was over 300 studio owners there. I had the privilege and the pleasure of teaching 3 sessions and hosted a roundtable. And in between, I had an amazing amount of conversations over coffee and dinners and hallways. And you know how it is there. And it was so much fun reconnecting with clients. Shout out to all our inner circle members that were there. Loved seeing you all, loved meeting new people, loved meeting new inner circle members who have joined since then. Shout out to everybody, because I know you're listening, because a lot of you said you listened to the podcast. So thank you for listening and thank you for being here. And on top of all of that, so traveled to Texas. And then on top of that, I had a full week, came back home on Sunday and Monday jumped into a really full week of private coaching, virtual coaching. I had some onboarding of new clients. I had a really busy, amazing week. Some fabulous new clients, just lots of really good things happening. And I've been taking notes all along. So I took notes while I was away, and reflections, I guess, is what I love to say, and debriefs and on the planes and traveling and all the things, because I did want to do this podcast episode about takeaways. I keep saying takeaways. I don't know why it sounds so funny to me, but patterns that I saw. And here's the thing. I'm going to share some takeaways, but one thing I've noticed that there are 2 types of shop owners. There's 2 types of shop owners, and we're going to talk about that today. I want to share those takeaways, and I want you to try to figure out maybe who are you? Which of these type of shop or studio owners are you? So consider this a short, punchy roundup, I guess, of what I'm seeing in our industry right now, what I've had conversations about literally over the last few weeks. So maybe this applies to your business, and I'd love for you to have a listen. So let's jump in. Running a retail business doesn't have to be so hard. Welcome to the Creative Shop Talk podcast, the go-to podcast for creative shop owners, studio owners, and independent retailers. I'm your host, Wendy Batten, retail business coach and mentor. Each week, I'll share simple, proven business strategies, inspiring stories from fellow retailers, and advice from industry experts. Together, we're going to work to find the success you want from your retail business, with more profits in your till and a little more joy in your life. Okay, takeaway number 1, the 2 types of shop owners. That sounds so dramatic, but that's how I wrote it down in my notes. So this is what I'm going to share. There is one group of retailers and studio owners that I'm noticing right now. This is business owners in general. They don't want to learn anything new. They're stuck in their old ways. And I'm kind of sad about that. They don't want to look at their numbers. They don't want to talk about AI. They don't want to change their marketing. They're just not interested. They're becoming those people that don't want to learn new things. I'm really surprised by that. I come from a place of assuming that we want to always improve and get better. And I felt surprised by that. I guess I don't have any other word to say that. They're just comfortable where they are, but they're also complaining about where they are, or maybe complaining about customers, and I say complaining because that's literally what I heard. So change doesn't happen unless we make changes. And I feel that's kind of obvious. So we have to make changes. So if you're just okay with everything the way it is, you either change or die. This is probably a theme we talk about here a lot in the podcast, but I saw it in person. I had conversations around that, and I was like, okay, here's the truth. We evolve or die. The modern shopper has changed. Customers' habits are changed. Marketing has changed. In 2025 and going into 2026, marketing has changed. Business has changed. Things are changing. Foundational things, no, they're still the same. But business is changing and life is changing. And 30 years in business, I can tell you that we evolve or we die, right? We make changes. So growth as a business owner isn't optional. Personal development, business development, it's not an option. So if you're listening to that and you're hesitant, resistant, ask yourself why. Like, ask yourself why you're, pay attention to the tension. So here's my question. Which are you? Are you growth minded and change minded and wanting to learn and evolve, or just steadfast with your, fist up fighting the changes because you're not like, that's just not how we grow. So I'm here for those who are ready to make the changes. And if you're not ready to make the changes, I guess, again, my advice is, ask yourself why. Pay attention to the tension and why are you here? So, and why are you in business? Because this is just, we have to look at business that way. All right. Takeaway number 2, margin and white spaces. So margin is 2 things in retail. And one of them is margin is number related. Obviously, we want margins, but the other margin is the one I want to talk about. I was reminded about how important margin in our space is, not just profit, but time margin, energy margin. Like while I was on my flights, like staring out the windows, this is when, just being in different places, understanding that we have to let the dust settle. Quiet space is where creativity lives. When you're washing the dishes, walking the dog, staring out the window, like those are the moments that your ideas arrive. Just sitting, just sitting. If your calendar has no white space, if your brain is always on with, ironically, podcasts in your ears, or if you're not taking any time to think about what you want and where you're going and what needs, just thinking time seems to have evaporated. We're filling our space and our time and our calendar with input. Again, ironically, maybe with a podcast or TV or Netflix. I said TV, like we're all watching TV. I actually don't know anybody who actually watches a lot of TV anymore. But like your creativity has really no place to breathe, right? Like we need to have space to breathe. We need to have space to have other things in our life other than input. So I'm just here to remind you about analog pleasures as well too. Like I had this conversation when I had a private meeting last week. So yeah, one of the other things that I did last week is I had a couple of retailers here in my little cottage by the sea for a VIP coaching day. Like we did a whole deep dive day. And that was one of the conversations that came up with us, even them just coming out of their shops and coming down here. And, they came out of province and they came down and had conversation, and we sat on the rocks outside by the ocean where I live. And we just talked about, possibilities, and we talked about what they want for their business. And we don't all take enough time to just slow down, have some margin, do something a little bit different, I guess. Not different, but just giving ourselves space. So again, and I said analog, meaning just not having social media on and scrolling and all the things. So your brain needs space, white space, and margin. So make time for that. Takeaway number 3 that I have totally noticed lately, and this is going to be a little controversial. Sorry, controversial. We hear the words be consistent all the time. Yes, consistency builds trust. But consistency doesn't mean never changing. And this is, again, something that I'm hearing a lot. So consistency doesn't mean always doing things, and kind of going back to my first takeaway about growth, right? If you've been doing the same thing the same way for years, you're not being consistent, you're being stagnant. Fresh ideas, new places, new people, that's how growth happens. Don't confuse consistency with sameness. Consistency can make you boring, right? I mean, I don't mean boring, but like it just like same. So where consistency is important, it's in the trust factor. Like our customers need to consistently trust that we're going to, have the right things in the right things for them and the right prices and the right service and the right, that consistency. We need to show up consistently, but not necessarily always the same. I don't know. I just feel like consistency has gotten maybe overused, and I'm probably not articulating it correctly, but I do really want to remind you that we just don't want to stay the same. Again, back to number one, like when I said that was one of my takeaways, and I see this a lot. I'm seeing this a lot. I'm like, oh no, but consistency needs to just be in trust. I think our customers need to trust our consistency, but we need fresh ideas and like new things going on and new products. We can't have like the same. Again, we want to be consistent in our branding and our messaging, but we don't want to have the same consistent products that are year after year after year after year. We want to change things up, right? Think of that modern customer. Think of that new fresh thing. Our marketing needs to be fresh and rememberable. If you've been around, I love to say rememberable. What are we doing to like not be average and mediocre? And we have to stay fresh. So don't stay stagnant. Don't stay consistent for the sake of staying consistent. And I've had that conversation over the last couple of weeks about, and this is just how we've always done it that way. We've always done it this way. And we all know those are the terrible words for retail. Okay, number 4, surround yourself with success-minded people, my friends. Listen, conversations last week when I was in Texas, amazing. Conversations in, here when the girls were here, amazing. Conversations with groups in my mastermind, amazing. There's a saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, but even also just hanging out and learning from other people. I want to challenge you to think about who you're surrounding yourself with. Are they inspiring you and sharing your wins? And are they talking about what's working in their business and not just what's not working and what's hard? And I'm seeing such a crazy, I want to be like, not a keyboard warrior. What do you type? What do you mean? When you type something and you're like answering something and you're typing it all out and then you're like, delete. I just like, Wendy, just let them just be on their rants. You're not going to change their mind, but you don't want to be in those groups. You want to be with the people who are winning. You want to be with the people who think positively in future planning. And you know what? We all have hard times. I'm not saying we're not going to hang out with people who have like challenges and obstacles, but what if we work with people, and what if we surround ourselves with people who are like, all right, well, how are we going to fix this? Instead of, yep, that really sucks. I'm so tired of seeing the sky is falling conversations, and that's just not the way I work. That's not that I'm being Pollyanna either. I see the reality of things and challenges, and there are challenges, but it's like, okay, what are we going to do about it? Like, what are we going to do about it? Stay in this negative momentum or figure it out? As a matter of fact, one of the conversations that I had when I was in Texas with a fabulous retailer, and things were really hard and things were challenging and things were like, negative, like for her, not everybody, just most people with wonderful conversations. And at one point I'm like, okay, well, why don't you just make plans to exit your business if it's this freaking hard? Well, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, well, then let's think of solutions and not like just bury ourselves in all the challenges. I don't know. I'm just not here for that. So I'm just not here for that. I mean, I'm not here for you to dwell. Anyway, if you're interested in working with people who are solution mindset and, acknowledge that things are hard because there's challenges. Again, there's challenges. We acknowledge these things, but what are we doing about it? If you're in that energy, that's the type of people I hope you surround yourself with. That's who I surround myself with. That's the type of programs that I'm building. That's what happens in our mastermind group. That's the energy and place I come from and lead from. And I just feel like, why would you not want to be in there? That's why, like, again, communities like my mastermind, the inner circle, they matter so much to me. They matter to me in the way we've built that, the way we've shaped that up. We share wins every week. We don't not talk about hard things. We celebrate, we learn, we grow together. That energy changes everything. Anyhow, let's move on. Takeaway number 5. Just something to think about. I hope that flips your script maybe or changes the mindset around that. Takeaway number 5, confidence comes through small steps. Man, I have seen some cool butt retailers doing some cool things lately, and they're coming from a place of like a little step on the ladder. I know we've seen the memes. I know we know this. I know in our brain we know this, but sometimes it's really hard to see all those baby steps adding up. It doesn't come like confidence doesn't come from reading a book about it either, right? It comes from doing the thing you said you were going to do, right? Confidence comes from taking action, like one little tiny action, not overthinking it, not thinking it to death. It just, confidence comes from, again, it doesn't come from more courses and more learning or anything. It comes from just saying yes to hard things and moving 1%, one little step at a time. So if you're avoiding your numbers, just start small. Learn the basics of your profit and loss. This has also been a challenge, not a challenge, a surprise to me sometimes. But again, for years, I didn't look at my profit and loss or my income statement when we were running our other businesses. For a long time, I thought, well, that's just my accountant's job. Nope, it is not my accountant's job. It is my job. It's your job, man. It's your job. You need to understand and learn the basics of your profit and loss and your income statement. You need to know your balance sheet. You need to understand how much inventory you have. You need to track these things. If you're not even really, if I'm making you squirm while we're talking about this, just pick up like one little tiny step. Go one step. If you are in my inner circle, go to module number 2 in my Retail Made Simple course. And that is the most popular course or module we have. There's a module there that just shows you, it probably would make accountants' eyeballs roll because it's not like fancy or formal. It's just stripped down. Here's how you read a P&L. Here's how you read an income statement. Here's the money that came in. Here's what an income statement is. Here's why you need to know it. Here's why you need to understand your inventory. Your inventory is money sitting on your shelves. And again, we've had conversations here on this podcast about that, but you can do it, man. You can do it. I don't know. I feel like there's like a song there or some kind of cheer. I don't know. Anyway, in general, I just think it's stop putting it off. Stop ostriching. Stop avoiding the numbers or the hard thing. Whatever that one thing is that you're trying to do, you can do it. Do it for 1 week. Do one small thing that you've been putting off learning or doing, like one number that you want to understand, and do like 20 minutes a day on that one thing. You will blow your socks off. Like at the end of the week, just like party like there's no tomorrow, like celebrate yourself. Then do it again the next week. This is how confidence grows. Small, consistent baby steps. That's how your confidence grows. So my friend, I'm wrapping up. I know this was a lot. It's probably kind of rambly, and I don't mean it to be. I really have spent so much time over the last few weeks in conversation, in just thinking. I've had lots of margin and white space, on those long, it's a long flight to Texas from Nova Scotia. I'm just going to tell you right now. So those are my takeaways for the week. I had such a wonderful time in Texas. I had such a wonderful time last week hosting retailers here in my home. I had such a wonderful time last week meeting groups of people. I've had just an incredible few weeks of conversation with a lot of my mastermind members. I've had one-on-one meetings with half of my mastermind member group in the last 2 weeks. And it's just awe-inspiring what everybody's doing, right? It's so wonderful to see how wonderful things can be. And I love seeing them all come together and just seeing all these things. And I hope this has been helpful to you. Identifying yourself, which one are you? Are you the growth mindset retailer willing to make those changes? Or maybe you're not. Love this quote from Annie B. Jones, who's actually going to be a guest in our Mastermind and Inner Circle book club meeting in October. She wrote a beautiful book called Ordinary Time, and she is the author of that book and the owner of a bookstore called The Bookshelf in Thomasville, Georgia. And we had the pleasure of meeting Annie in person when I was there with my mastermind group in April. And this quote, I just love this quote from her book, and it says, "My desire to stay comfortable has outweighed my desire to change. Has my quest for consistency robbed me of my fun, my silliness, and my playfulness?" And I just Man, I love that. Like, business is supposed to be fun, and staying comfortable is easy, but let's not let comfort rob us of possibility. So I love that original quote from Annie, and I just really think that it's a great reminder. So thanks for listening, my friend. If you want to go deeper into this work, if you want to join Annie, in our book club, you can do that. If you're an Inner Circle member or a mastermind member, or if you want to be either of those, just ask for a request to join us. And we have applications open for our mastermind group, and we are open inside the Inner Circle as well too. So you can come hang out with somebody like Annie. Anyhow, thanks for being here. You'll love the resources inside my Retailers Inner Circle. You don't have to do this alone. I promise. Like, it's fun. And if you're, vibing at all with anything, how I like to, I don't know, do life and do business, join us. I hope to see you. Hope to see you back here. I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. We'll have a fantastic week, and be well. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Creative Shop Talk podcast. I'm so glad that you were here to join us this week, and I hope you found value in what we're sharing here. I want to remind you that our website has all of the show notes. You can find it at wendybatten.com/podcast. Everything that you need to hear about today's podcast is there. Also an opportunity if you need to reach out to me. If I can support you in any way whatsoever, please feel free to reach out. So thanks for joining us. Please leave a review, subscribe if you can, and never miss an episode. We hope to see you back here again next week. Thanks, my friend. Have a great week.